The soft chime of the department store's entrance rang as Pam Bondi stepped into Bloomingdale's, the air thick with the scent of high-end perfumes and fresh leather. Christmas decorations adorned the store, casting a warm, golden glow over the bustling shoppers. It was late November, and Tampa's finest were out hunting for Black Friday deals. Pam, dressed in a crisp navy blazer and tailored slacks, had only one thing on her mind: finding a last-minute gift for a close friend's birthday. She adjusted her designer purse on her shoulder and made her way toward the handbag section. The sales attendant greeted her with a warm smile, clearly recognizing her. But not everyone in the store was pleased to see her. A woman in her late 30s, dressed in ripped jeans and a Not My President hoodie, stood near the sunglasses display, watching Pam with narrowed eyes. Her name was Jessica Langley, a progressive activist and former campaign volunteer for a Democratic senator. She had spent the last 4 years railing against the Trump administration, and for her, Pam Bondi represented everything she despised. Jessica clenched her fists as she watched Pam casually browse the store as if she were just another ordinary citizen. How dare she? Fueled by a mix of adrenaline and ideological fervor, Jessica stormed across the store and positioned herself directly in Pam's path. "You have some nerve showing your face in public," she spat, her voice dripping with hostility. Pam, caught off guard, looked up from the leather clutch she had been examining. Her gaze met Jessica's, and in that moment she realized exactly what was happening. This wasn't the first time she had been confronted by an angry liberal in public, and it certainly wouldn't be the last. "Excuse me?" Pam asked, keeping her voice calm but firm. Jessica stepped closer, her voice rising. "You think you can just walk around like a normal person after everything you and your boss have done to this country? You're a disgrace." Pam took a deep breath, scanning the store. A few shoppers had stopped to watch the exchange. Some pulled out their phones, eager to record what was sure to be a viral moment. "Ma'am, I don't know what you're trying to accomplish, but I'm just here to shop." "Please step aside," Pam said, her tone steady. But Jessica wasn't backing down. She smirked, then suddenly shoved Pam backward hard enough to make her stumble. Gasps filled the air. A security guard at the entrance started moving toward them. "How does it feel?" Jessica sneered. "How does it feel to be confronted for your actions?" Pam, regaining her balance, squared her shoulders and looked Jessica dead in the eye. "You just assaulted me." Jessica laughed. "Oh please, I barely touched you. But you conservatives love playing the victim, don't you?" Before Pam could respond, a voice cut through the tension. "Hey, lady. Back off." Everyone turned toward the source of the voice. And what happened next shocked everyone in the store. A deep, authoritative voice sliced through the tension like a blade. "Hey, lady. Back off." Jessica's smug expression faltered as she turned to face the speaker. Standing near the perfume counter was a tall man in his mid-50s, broad-shouldered with a neatly trimmed beard and wearing a dark leather jacket. His piercing blue eyes were locked onto Jessica, his stance exuding quiet strength. "Who the hell are you?" Jessica snapped, irritated that someone was interfering. The man took a step forward, shaking his head in disbelief. "Just an American who's sick and tired of people like you thinking it's okay to harass others in public." Pam, still steadying herself from Jessica's shove, glanced at the man and recognized him instantly. His face had been on news networks for years. She began, but the man cut her off with a small shake of his head, signaling that now wasn't the time for introductions. Jessica, emboldened by the onlookers and the knowledge that the confrontation was being recorded, squared her shoulders. "People like me? You mean people who stand up against injustice? People who hold criminals accountable?" The man let out a bitter chuckle. "Lady, you just assaulted a woman in a shopping center because you don't like her politics. That's not justice. That's just you being a bully." Jessica scoffed. "Oh, give me a break. You think she's a victim?" Pam Bondi worked for one of the most corrupt administrations in history. She defended a president who divided this country. Pam finally spoke up. "I served as Attorney General to uphold the law. You might not like my politics, but that doesn't give you the right to put your hands on me." Jessica rolled her eyes. "Oh, please. You're acting like I punched you. You'll be fine." At that moment, the security guard reached them, his face tense. "What's going on here?" he asked, looking between Pam and Jessica. Before Pam could speak, the man in the leather jacket stepped in. "This lady here," he said, pointing at Jessica, "just shoved Ms. Bondi. Holster saw it. Probably caught on camera too." Jessica's face turned red. "Oh, so now you're a snitch?" The security guard's expression darkened. "We have a zero-tolerance policy for violence in this store. You need to leave, ma'am." Jessica's jaw dropped. "Are you kidding me? I'm the one being kicked out." A few onlookers murmured in agreement. A woman near the jewelry counter shook her head. That was uncalled for, she whispered to her friend. Jessica's temper flared. Oh, so now I'm the bad guy? She's part of a corrupt system and I'm just supposed to smile and ignore it. The security guard crossed his arms. You can protest outside all you want, but you can't attack people in here. Jessica opened her mouth to argue, but before she could, the man in the leather jacket stepped even closer, lowering his voice just enough so only she could hear. Walk away now, he said, his tone calm but firm. Because if you don't, this is going to end a lot worse for you. For the first time since the confrontation began, Jessica hesitated. There was something about the man, something intimidating, something serious. She looked around. Some shoppers were shaking their heads in disapproval. Others were still filming. And Pam Bondi, despite being the supposed villain in Jessica's mind, hadn't retaliated once. Jessica huffed. Fine. Whatever. This country is screwed anyway. She turned on her heel and stormed toward the exit. As soon as she was gone, the security guard sighed and turned to Pam. I'm really sorry about that, Miss Bondi. We don't tolerate that kind of behavior here. Pam nodded. I appreciate it. She turned toward the man in the leather jacket, her eyes studying him closely. I can't believe it's really you, she said, a small smile forming. The man smirked. It's been a while, Pam. The shoppers around them were still murmuring, and the tension in the store hadn't fully dissipated. But one thing was clear, whoever this man was, he wasn't just some ordinary bystander. And what he said next shocked Pam to her core. Pam Bondi blinked, trying to process the man standing before her. She hadn't seen him in years, but there was no mistaking that rugged face and piercing gaze. Jack Calloway, she said, shaking her head with a bemused smile. Of all people. The murmuring shoppers slowly returned to their business, though a few lingered, still intrigued by what had just transpired. The security guard gave Jack a nod before walking off, ensuring things settled down. Jack Calloway, former Marine, ex-Secret Service agent, and one-time special consultant to the Department of Justice. He had served under multiple administrations working in high-level security operations. He was known for his no-nonsense approach and had once been in charge of ensuring the safety of government officials, including Pam herself. You look good, Pam, Jack said with a half-smile. Still making headlines, I see. Pam let out a soft chuckle. Not exactly by choice. These days, just existing in public seems to be a political statement. Jack nodded, his expression darkening. People have lost all sense of decency. Disagreements are one thing, but putting hands on someone? That's a whole different level. Pam sighed, glancing toward the exit where Jessica had stormed out. She's not the first, and she won't be the last. There's this growing belief that people like me shouldn't even be allowed to step outside without being harassed. Jack crossed his arms. Yeah, well, I don't like bullies. Never have. Pam studied him for a moment. He was dressed casually, jeans, boots, the worn leather jacket he'd probably owned for decades, but there was an unmistakable air of authority about him. I didn't realize you were back in Florida, she said. Last I heard, you were overseas consulting on security operations. Jack smirked. Still do some of that. But I came back stateside a few months ago. Figured I'd lay low, enjoy civilian life for a while. Pam raised an eyebrow. And by lay low, you mean confronting random political activists in shopping malls? Jack shrugged. Right place, right time. Pam shook her head with a small laugh. Well, I appreciate it. I can handle words, but things have been escalating. You wouldn't believe some of the threats I get. Jack's face grew serious. Actually, I would believe it. That's why you should have security with you. Pam waved a hand dismissively. I'm not in office anymore. I can't live in fear. Jack sighed. There's a difference between living in fear and being prepared. People like that woman? They're getting bolder. And trust me, if she felt comfortable enough to shove you in public, imagine what someone else might be willing to do when no one's watching. Pam knew he was right, but she hated the idea of going everywhere with a security detail. Jack seemed to read her thoughts. I'm not saying you need to be surrounded by bodyguards, but you need to be smart. Situational awareness. Knowing when to walk away. Having someone nearby just in case things go sideways. Pam nodded slowly. So, what are you suggesting? Jack hesitated for a moment, then gave her a half smile. Let's grab a coffee and talk about it. Pam glanced at her watch. She had originally come to the mall for a quick shopping trip, but after what had just happened, she knew better than to brush this off. All right, she said. But you're buying. Jack chuckled. Fair enough. As they walked toward the exit, Pam couldn't shake the feeling that this wasn't just a chance encounter. Jack Calloway wasn't the type to simply appear out of nowhere. And something told her that what happened today was only the beginning. Pam and Jack stepped out of Bloomingdale's and into the cool Florida evening air. The sky was painted in shades of orange and purple as the sun dipped below the horizon. The parking lot was still bustling, the holiday shopping season in full swing. Jack led the way toward a quiet cafe across the street, one of those small, locally owned places with wooden furniture and a chalkboard menu listing seasonal lattes. As they entered, a waitress greeted them with a smile. "Sit anywhere you'd like." They picked a booth in the corner, away from the other patrons. Jack leaned back in his seat, scanning the room instinctively. Old habits died hard. Pam smirked. "You still do that thing where you analyze every exit and check for threats, huh?" she said. Jack shrugged. "Once a Marine, always a Marine." Pam shook her head, amused. But her amusement faded quickly as she thought back to the encounter in Bloomingdale's. "Be honest with me, Jack," she said, leaning forward. "Do you really think that was random? Or do you think that woman was looking for me specifically?" Jack sighed. "I think it was opportunistic. She saw you, recognized you, and decided to make a scene. But here's the thing, these situations don't stay isolated. One viral video, one news clip, and suddenly you've got a target on your back." Pam exhaled slowly. She had dealt with public backlash before, but this felt different. The waitress came by, placing their coffees on the table. Jack waited until she left before continuing. "I've been keeping an eye on things, Pam," he said, his tone lowering. "And it's not just you. Public figures tied to the last administration are becoming flashpoints. Protesters are getting more aggressive. People are getting doxxed. And let's be real, some of them aren't just looking for a confrontation. Some of them want to do real harm." Pam frowned. "You think I'm in danger?" Jack hesitated for a moment before nodding. "I think you need to take it seriously. You're not just a former attorney general. You're Pam Bondi. You were a key figure in Trump's administration. That makes you a symbol." Pam stirred her coffee absent-mindedly, processing his words. She wasn't naive. She had seen the rise in hostility. But she had always believed she could handle it on her own. Jack leaned forward. "Let me help you. Let me put together a security assessment, at least. See if there are any threats against you that you might not be aware of." Pam hesitated. She had never been the type to accept help easily. But then she thought about Jessica, about the way she had shoved her in broad daylight, without hesitation, in front of dozens of people, and about how nobody had stopped her until Jack stepped in. She took a deep breath and met his eyes. "All right, let's do it." Jack nodded, satisfied. But just as he was about to take a sip of his coffee, his phone buzzed. He glanced at the screen, and his expression darkened. Pam noticed instantly. "What is it?" Jack didn't answer right away. Instead, he turned his phone around and slid it across the table. Pam's stomach tightened as she read the text message displayed on the screen. "You should have let her finish the job. Now you're on the list too." Pam's blood ran cold. Jack exhaled sharply, his jaw tightening. "Looks like we've got a bigger problem than just a mall confrontation." Pam's hands clenched into fists. "Who sent that?" Jack shook his head. "I don't know yet. But I promise you this, whoever it is, they just made a big mistake." Pam took a steadying breath, her resolve hardening. She wasn't about to let some anonymous coward intimidate her. Jack's gaze locked onto hers. "We're going to find out who's behind this, Pam. And we're going to make sure they know they picked the wrong people to mess with." Pam nodded, determination burning in her eyes. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. The cafe's cozy atmosphere felt suffocating now. Pam's heart pounded as she reread the message on Jack's phone. It wasn't just a threat, it was a declaration of war. Jack's fingers tightened around his coffee cup, his mind already working through the possibilities. He looked up at Pam. "We need to move fast. Whoever sent this knows what happened at the mall and they're watching." Pam nodded, her legal instincts kicking in. "We report it to law enforcement, get them involved." Jack shook his head. "Not yet. We don't even know who we're dealing with. And if we tip them off too soon, they'll just disappear." Pam exhaled slowly. "So what do you suggest?" Jack leaned in. "We bait them out." Pam raised an eyebrow. "You want to use me as bait?" Jack smirked. "Not exactly. But we let them think they have the upper hand. If they believe you're vulnerable, they'll make a mistake. And when they do, we'll be ready." Pam hesitated. This was risky. But she also knew Jack Calloway didn't do reckless, he did calculated. She nodded. All right. What's the plan? The sting operation. Over the next 24 hours, Jack pulled together resources, old contacts from the intelligence community, a few trusted cyber analysts, and even a couple of local law enforcement officers he still had ties with. Pam made sure to keep up her usual routine, public appearances, social media posts, everything as normal. The goal was to make it seem like she wasn't taking the threat seriously. But behind the scenes, Jack was working tirelessly. By the second night, they had a lead. The message had been sent from a burner phone, but Jack's contact had managed to trace some digital breadcrumbs. The device had pinged near the mall around the time of the confrontation. More digging uncovered surveillance footage of a man standing near the entrance just minutes after Jessica had stormed out. He had been on his phone, watching. Jack froze when he enhanced the image. Son of a, he muttered. Pam peered at the screen. Who is he? Jack's jaw tightened. His name's Tyler Grayson, former intelligence analyst turned political extremist. He used to work for a government agency before he got fired for leaking classified information. Since then, he's been tied to multiple online activist groups, the kind that believe in taking direct action. Pam frowned. So he sent the message? Jack nodded. Most likely. But I don't think he's working alone. Someone gave Jessica the push to confront you. And someone was ready to escalate if things had gone further. Pam's blood ran cold. They were testing me. Jack exhaled. Testing us. And now we test them. The showdown. The next evening, Pam made a public appearance at a charity event in downtown Tampa. It was the perfect bait, an open, well-advertised gathering where anyone could show up. Jack was there too, but not as himself. He blended in with the crowd, dressed like any other attendee, his trained eye scanning for threats.